paid $98,000 for this house. We're talking 20 plus years ago now. House prices increase over time. So that actually reached, it's not a great, it's not a super mansion by any stretch of the imagination. 4-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, pretty standard in New Zealand. It did reach up to 890,000 New Zealand dollars.
I love talking about increasing your net worth. This is our barometer for wealth building success. Today, we're going to speak with an investor who has grown his family's net worth to over 1 million New Zealand dollars by 55 years old. Vinnie Anglesey is our guest today. Vinnie lives in New Zealand with his wife, Denise, and when he's not building his family's wealth, he enjoys making YouTube videos and writing songs. Welcome to the show, Vinnie.
Thanks very much for having me, Andy.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for getting up early with me. I know it is 7 a.m. where you are in New Zealand, so it means a lot to me that you woke up and shared this conversation with everybody. Thank you.
No worries.
All right, Vinnie. So looking back, what was your motivation for building your wealth?
Well, essentially, I'd hit about the age of 44, and I was in a dead-end job working for a bank as a contractor. Unfortunately, I was a lowly paid contractor, and we were on one income at the time, and I had no idea about money. I pretty much had my head in the sand. I was doing this dead-end job, which I absolutely, I didn't hate it, but I did get in trouble for saying the job was quite boring with the management there. So that didn't go down too well. But at the end of the day, you've still got to work and you've got to make money and you've got to provide for your family. So I carried on doing that. But I had an opportunity to get a better job, which obviously I took. And once I got that better job, things had to change because I was sick of living week to week with no money, up to our eyeballs in debt. And that's pretty much the catalyst for when things change for us.
That's incredible. Yeah, you have to have that turning point. You have to have that moment to say, let's get out of this. Let's try something better. What kind of debt did you guys have at that time?
Well, it was mainly the mortgage. At the time, we owed roughly around 156,000 on the mortgage, which is probably not huge by today's standards. But in New Zealand, house prices average they're somewhere around the $900,000 mark at the moment for an average house in New Zealand, maybe up to $1 million New Zealand dollars. However, I'd owned the house for quite a while at that stage. We're talking probably, I don't know, I guess about maybe 12 years. And I still owed I actually paid $98,000 for the house. So to owe $156,000 on the house is probably not ideal. That was the main debt. We also had a credit card which was over the limit. I think we owed maybe about $6,000. So the limit wasn't super high. It was about $5,000. And we had a couple of other bills like Inland Revenue, which is our tax department here in New Zealand, and dentists, things like that. Just some small other bills. So all up, it was about $173,000 in debt, with pretty much no savings, living week to week. So nothing in the bank. I had a small pension, which was roughly about 14 to 18,000 at the time, and that was pretty much where we were at.
Yeah. So what did you do to start making a difference in this debt situation? Obviously, the epiphany moment was, okay, I got a new job. Let me start to make some changes here so I could feel a little bit more breathing room. But what actions did you take to make that happen?
Well, the first thing I did had to have a budget because we simply didn't really know where we were at. So by just acknowledging this is where we're at, we owe this amount of money, we've got this amount of income now with this new job, that was pretty much the starting point. So did a number of things at the time. So we refixed the mortgage. We went with a different bank. I was actually previously working for a bank as a contractor, like I said. However, I was able to get a cheaper rate as a private citizen. So we did that. I was able to transfer the credit card debt onto a 0% interest rate for 6 months, which helped me enable to get rid of that credit card debt within that period without incurring any more interest. Got an overdraft for nothing, so that didn't cost anything. And we also got there's a loan you can get in with a certain bank in New Zealand. We got some solar put on the roof, and so it sort of gets paid for on the mortgage, but it gets paid for over 4 years, and they sort of subsidise it. So there was a number of things that we did there just in the financial sense. And the first thing we had to do was simply, it wasn't about investing at this time. It was my job was they did have some redundancies and some restructuring like most jobs do. But the first thing to do was to get out of debt, and we beavered away at that for a number of years. That was our priority at the time.
That's good. And a big part of the conversation too is you're married, and some of these discussions can be hard in the beginning to say, "Hey, let's change the way we're living, Denise. Let's do something different." Was this her idea? Was this your idea? And then depending on whose idea it was, how did those conversations go?
Well, it was pretty much kind of, it wasn't really anyone's decision necessarily. It was kind of joint. Denise is very frugal, which is excellent for me because, it helps when both of you have got the same mindset. She's not a big spender. I'm not a big spender, the occasional splurge, but nothing major. She has her own side hustles where she makes clothes and recycles fashion basically. So she makes clothes out of other clothes and sells that, which is great. But it was just a situation we were in because we had no money, and it was just ongoing week after week after week of having no money. So yeah, like I say, things had to change.
Absolutely. And you guys partnered together on that budget, and you kind of looked at ways to make some changes in your life. Talk to us about you during that time period. You said you were working as a contractor for a bank. What was Denise doing? And then help us with just a general income range during that time.
Well, at the time, Denise was having some health issues. So she wasn't really working. She did have her own business as well, but it wasn't sort of bringing in lots of cash. Put it that way. So during that time, I was roughly on about $83,000. Denise was making a little bit of money, but we're talking pretty much a part time job, so not a huge amount, maybe a few $1,000s a year. 80,000 New Zealand dollars is roughly around 50,000 US, roughly. So that's how much we had to work with. But prior to that, we were on our household income was roughly around 60,000 New Zealand dollars, which is 35,000 US a year, which is not a huge amount.
Even though it's not a huge amount, you guys have figured out how to grow this amount into a larger number, especially as we're looking at this net worth number. Let's talk about this breakdown of the net worth, because I think that helps people understand a little bit of what net worth means. Let's talk about your assets first. Could you tell us what assets you have as a part of this net worth number?
Sure. So our main asset is obviously our house, and during the pandemic, house prices went crazy in New Zealand. Not sure about the US, but our house, like I said, we paid $98,000 for this house. We're talking 20 plus years ago now. Obviously, house prices increase over time. So that actually reached. It's not a great, it's not a super mansion by any stretch of the imagination. 4 bedroom, 1 bathroom house, pretty standard in New Zealand. Um, it did reach up to 890,000 New Zealand dollars. The market's softened now, so it's roughly hovering around the $600,000 mark. So we
Wow.
actually, because of that house, 890,000, we only needed literally $110,000 worth of assets once we'd paid it off, which, by the way, took 5.5 years of solid graft and grind, but we finally got there. So we only needed $110,000 worth of investments and savings to actually become net worth millionaires at the once as soon as we're out of debt. Unfortunately, the market has softened, and literally the house has lost 300,000. So, in the meantime, we've been consistently adding to our investments over time and building those up. And the house is still worth roughly around 600,000, and our investments have now increased up to about 370,000, roughly.
Wow, that's incredible. And then do you have other assets on there, cash or anything else like that, that's worth mentioning?
Well, we kind of combine everything. So we've got about, uh, if I add them all up, 10 to 12 different buckets of money, mainly in the New Zealand stock market. There's a little bit in US stock market. We've got a little bit of ETF slash index funds. We've got some direct call accounts for our emergency fund. So I kind of bundle all the money into one one sort of big bucket, if you like.
That makes sense. And then let's talk liabilities then. Do you owe any debt anymore to anybody?
Well, once we started this plan, which was 10.5 years ago, June 2014, when I got this job and things changed. It took us 5.5 years to get out of debt, and we've only had a couple of little blips since then, and it's only like a couple of $1,000 when we weren't able to actually pay cash for a couple of items. But we've got no debt. The credit card is always a zero balance, and I'm not planning to get into debt anytime soon.
That is incredible. Congratulations. And I'm sure that 5.5 years was a lot of work, a lot of dedication, a lot of paying attention to the numbers, and having zero liabilities and a full net worth of 1 million. That's got to feel good. How do you feel with your financial situation today compared to where you were?
Oh, it's just a complete turnaround. So it's such an amazing feeling when you've got that mountain of debt, especially when you work so hard to pay it off. And 5.5 years is not a short amount of time. And we did do a few things during that period where we had to refix the mortgage. But each time we did that, we were in a better position because you could sort of see the end of the road a lot clearer. So I think we fixed it maybe 3 times. Um, but what an amazing feeling just to get out of debt. And even if you don't have any money, but you've got no debt, incredible.
That's incredible. Now you guys are net worth millionaires. Now, what is exciting to you after this situation that you're in right now? What's exciting for you the next 5 to 10 years of your life? What are your financial dreams right now?
Well, first goal really is to reach lean fire. So, in order
Tell us
to
about that. Can you help us define that?
Yeah, sure. So lean fire is essentially reaching financial independence when you're not reliant on a job, when your investments will cover your basic living costs. And for us, our we can live very cheaply. Obviously, we own our own house. We've got solar on the roof. We've got chickens out the back. We've got some fruit trees. We don't have a huge section or anything like that, but we do grow some vegetables at home and try and be as self-sustainable as possible. So, in order to fund what we need for the basics in terms of food and petrol and electricity, the bare bones, property taxes, which we call rates in New Zealand, insurance, all that sort of stuff, we need roughly around 500 New Zealand dollars per week. So, in order to generate that sort of money, we would need roughly around $630,000 worth of investments, returning 4%. At the moment, we don't have that, so I've got a 4 year plan to get to that level. And once we do get to that level, that gives us a lot of options and a lot of choices. Probably still stay working because obviously, the more money you can make and put into that nest egg, the more money you're going to have at the end, and you can start actually having a choices lifestyle rather than a budget lifestyle, as it were. So our immediate goal is to do carry on working, do exactly what we've been doing. We invest regularly every 2 weeks. We put the same amount in every time. We're getting the extra bonus money that goes into the investments as well. So another 4 years, and we will reach that actual milestone of financial independence.
Oh, I love that. Well, I'd love to have you back in 4 years and have this conversation again and talk to you about your financial independence win. I think that could be a lot of fun. Now, somebody's listening right now, Vinny, and they're excited about growing their net worth like you have. What is one piece of advice that you would leave them following this interview?
Well, one good thing that we do is we do the budget and our net worth calculations on the first of every month. And that way we never forget. So I've got this massive spreadsheet, which I've spent many hours poring over. Denise, at one stage, literally, I could spend 2 or 3 hours a night looking at the spreadsheet. She did get a bit sick of it at the time, but I've kind of eased off in recent times, which is kind of good, kind of nice. So I do it on the first of every month, and I've got some other tabs and stuff, so you can actually see what your net worth does over time. It's super motivating. It's so easy to do when you do it on the first of the month, and you can see exactly where your financial position is. So that's probably my first recommendation, and that's tied into a monthly budget as well. So, which will obviously change over time as prices go up, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice because it can help you to take small steps to improve your situation. If you can look at the numbers and say, here's where we are, where do we want to go? What does one small thing that I can do over the next month, 2 months, year to make this thing grow. I think that's a great habit, Vinny. Thank you so much for sharing that piece of advice. Now, I know that you are helping people out online as well with your YouTube channel. Tell people about it and where they can connect with you.
Yep. Well, we're on YouTube. We're at Project Frugal, 2 words, Project Frugal, and we've made close on 500 videos. And it's just generally about frugal living, things that we do, such as maybe growing some vegetables at home or anything, how to budget, all sorts of frugal and financial tips, what we've done in order to save. I did one series saving up $100,000, which we essentially put $1,000 in a fortnight into the New Zealand stock market, and we just followed that journey. And I'm no savvy investor. We're buy and hold investors. We're not certainly not day traders, anything like that. And took 3.5 years to get to $100,000, but we did it, and that was just a milestone that we were able to tick off. And I'm actually still investing into that portfolio. It's under Denise's name. She's very happy because she didn't put a cent into it. I just put it for her. Um, yeah, so just general financial tips and things that we've learnt along the way, and our daily struggles, as it were, in the financial realm. But hopefully, it'll motivate people and help them on their journey as well.
I love that. Yes, Project Frugal, everybody. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button over there at Project Frugal and connect with Vinny and learn from his great advice and great history with building his wealth to $1 million. Vinny, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Andy. Appreciate being on here.
If you're inspired to grow your net worth after hearing that awesome story, you should check out Empower's free net worth tracker. This is the same tracker that my wife and I use to grow our net worth from negative $50,000 to over $1 million in just 10 years. You can access that using the links below or click the link in our video description. If you want to get inspired to grow your net worth even more, check out this next video coming up.